All right, welcome everybody to a Product Wednesday. I love this show today. We have a product spotlight and we are doing a throwback with Wentzel from Structurlam. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you missed it, you'll get to watch it again today. So we are going beyond the treetops with this throwback conversation with Wentzel of Structurlam Mass Timber Corporation. The leading mass timber manufacturer in North America, Structurlam will soon be opening its new facility in Conway, Arkansas. One of their investors is Walmart, creating the structural components shaping the future of design and construction. Structurlam offers a mass timber solution combining wood science, timber engineering expertise, 3D modeling and CNC fabrication, sustainability, quality, structural design, and aesthetics. Crosslam CLT, Glulam Plus CLT, industrial ground protection matting. So really looking forward to revisiting this show with you all today. But we could not do any of these shows without our sponsors. So a big shout out and thank you to Ben Hershey and Joe Butler from Forward Solutions Group. They are a team with more than 175 years of experience developing and specifying manufacturing for panelized and volumetric modular industries with best practices in development and implementation. They offer consulting with investors, developers, manufacturers, builders in using off-site manufacturing methods. Forward Solutions Group is driving companies to succeed where others have failed. For more information, please reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And our other sponsor who we love very much is Howick. Howick is a pioneer in technology of precision light steel roll forming machines. For over 40 years, their commitment to innovation in cold form steel, also known as light gauge steel, precision manufacturing, uncompromising quality, and exemplary customer service have defined the Howick way. Their commitment underpins the competitive advantage enjoyed by their customers. To learn more, visit their website at howickltd.com. And as always, everybody, at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the places that are doing it better. Today, we are kicking off, like I said, with Wentzel. We're going to jump right into today's show. Without further ado, enjoy this episode. I will be in the background here as we go through this. This is very pertinent to what is happening in our industry. I don't know if you saw our show. What was it, last Wednesday? Hardy was on the show along with several others, Rick Murdoch. We had Jerry McCahey on the show. We had Hardy Wentzel on the show. We had Helena Lidlow on the show. And we had Ben Hershey on the show. The industry is now coming together. All of those people come from either similar or different parts of our industry. Panelization, components, volumetric, modular. We're finally coming together as an industry right here on davecooper.live, and we're going to continue to drive it forward. So let's, without further ado, run this show we had with Structurlam, Hardy Wentzel, because they are taking it to the next level. Today is going to be a lot of fun. We have Hardy Wentzel on, who is the CEO of Structurlam. And guess what? Structurlam is also the company that Walmart has invested in as well. And we're going to get into that during this show. So without further ado, let's bring in Hardy. Hey, Hardy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Dave, good to see you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. It's great to see you as well. You know, I have to say, we had a call prior to this, and I said to somebody I was on your team, like, you were like not only one of the smartest guys I know, but man, you're the nicest guy too. It's been such a joy getting to know you.
Well, thank you for that. There's a lot of people here at Structurlam would beg to differ.
Maybe so. Well, listen, Hardy, let's jump into this. We have a lot of people tuning in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? We want to know everything from the moment you were born, and don't leave out any of the gory stuff at the hospital, to this very moment in time. And you have about 3 to 5 minutes to do it.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. A pleasure to meet everybody here on Dave's show. As he said, I'm Hardy Wentzel. I've been with Structurlam since 2018, January of 2018. I came into the company. But prior to that, I have I would call it a very experienced and veteran career in engineered wood products. Virtually my whole working life has been in engineered wood. But prior to that, if you really want to get into the gory details there, Dave, I was born to German immigrants in Edmonton, Alberta. And I grew up in the northern part of the province, and we all know there's a lot of snow and cold weather up in that part of the world. But I'm happy to be from there. I currently live in the Kelowna, British Columbia, which is a city just north of Penticton, BC. And I have to tell you that this part of our province is one of the most beautiful places in the world to live, and we're super fortunate to be here. As I said, I grew up in Edmonton. I went to school in Edmonton, did my post-secondary education in Edmonton and civil engineering technology at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. Fantastic school for some really practical skills. And as I said, I joined the engineered wood products industry virtually right out of college. So I've been involved in this space my whole career. I've worked in Canada, I've worked in the US. I lived in Europe for 7 years, still in this industry. Moved back, spent a lot of time in Asia, but I'm happy to say that I'm here at home in the valley of the Okanagan Valley. And the company here, Structurlam, I just have to tell you, I thought we were really stroking along with our experience of nearly 60 years in the industry. But when you mentioned Forward Solutions with over 170 years there, Dave, that is an impressive milestone. So kudos to them.
Yeah.
But the one thing about Structurlam is our history here is deeply rooted in mass timber, in heavy timber, and that's all this company has been doing since 1962. So we've got a lot of industry knowledge, institutional knowledge, tribal knowledge, whatever you want to call it. But this company really knows how to do beautiful things out of mass timber.
Oh, man, do you ever? I mean, some of the photos that I've been looking at on your site and some of the other documentations is absolutely gorgeous. So, well, listen, before we get into the details on why such an explosive growth in mass timber is happening, I'd like to show a video of one of your new factory areas. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, perfect.
Have always been there for us, offering comfort, shelter, even oxygen. Just as we think we've outgrown their reach, we discover a new potential that goes far beyond the treetops. Mass timber construction represents a revolutionary way to grow together, a method of deconstructing what nature provides and reassembling it to be stronger, opening up new possibilities in construction that are sustainable and cost-effective. For nearly 60 years, Structurlam mass timber has been at the forefront of the mass timber revolution. It took root in British Columbia, where we realized early on that the future is not a place we are going, but one we are creating. And we made it our goal to bring about a dramatic transformation in building construction by combining our passion for wood science with timber engineering expertise. Today, our facilities use 3D modeling and sophisticated CNC fabrication equipment to create structural components like our Crosslam CLT panels and Glulam Plus beams and columns. These products are shaping the future of design and construction, helping to change minds as well as building codes, resulting in tall wood construction up to 12 stories in Canada and 18 stories in the US. Mass timber is appealing to eco-forward building owners and developers for reasons beyond sustainability. It's a proven system that builds without compromise on quality, structural design, or aesthetics, all at competitive costs. Mass timber buildings are roughly 25% faster to construct than concrete, require 90% less construction material delivery traffic, and 75% fewer workers on site. Complementing our plant in British Columbia, our new plant in Conway will make mass timber more available across North America, with a combined capacity sufficient to construct 3 200,000 square foot office buildings every month. Engineered and proven, with the power to lock away carbon through the lifespan of the building, mass timber is quickly becoming the platform of choice for architects and builders. At Structurlam, the beauty of our products will take your breath away. Their sustainability we'll give it back.
All right. I mean, beautiful video, right?
Yeah. Thanks for showing that for us. That is a real nice piece of work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to talking more about this plant that you have coming up in Arkansas. I know we're going to hit on that kind of near the end of the show with the whole Walmart conversation. So let's give us the overview. Why right now is this mass timber revolution happening here in North America?
Yeah. I really believe it is a revolution. There's some real fundamentals I'll speak to, and then maybe we can go over to some of the other information I shared with you, Dave. Yeah. But it starts with the fact that North America really has a fantastic building with wood culture. If you look at the statistics of the consumption of wood per capita in construction, North America by far and away leads the usage of wood in that in the space of wood in construction. Secondly, we have a lumber industry where we draw our raw materials from. So Structurlam, we do not make lumber. We buy lumber on the commodity market, and we at that point we incorporated it into the manufacture of our mass timber products, which are glulam beams and columns and cross-laminated timber panels. But this lumber industry that we have here in North America is, again, another unparalleled industry in that we have 70 billion board feet of a standardized lumber industry. So we have different species groups to make softwood lumber in North America, from the SPF species here in British Columbia, the Douglas fir species down the West Coast, the southern pine species in Arkansas, all the way over and up to North Carolina. We also have the eastern wood baskets that have eastern SPF lumber. So we have this huge block of lumber production that is very standardized. So out of all those species groups that I mentioned, a 2x4 is a 2x4, a 2x6 is a 2x6, and so on and so forth, up to a 2x12 is a 2x12. And in many other regions of the world, and in fact in Europe, where mass timber was initially introduced about 30 years ago, there is no such thing as a standardized lumber industry, but between our two countries, we have this standardized. And then lastly, the other big thing about why we're seeing this explosive growth in mass timber is the fact that it is now written in our building code. So in the US and the International Building Code of the United States and the National Building Code of Canada, mass timber, CLT and glulam are both codified, which makes it very, very easy for architects and engineers to specify the product.
Sure.
And, yeah.
I was going to ask, how long has it been in the code, and is this stuff that's been adopted over the last couple years, or is this something that's been in the works for a long time? Yeah.
So the glulam part of mass timber has been in the building codes forever. I can't even tell you when that is, but it's decades. Glulam is the oldest engineered wood product known to mankind. It was actually patented in Germany in the mid-1800s. It's no longer patented, so there's widespread usage of glulam beams throughout the world, North America as well. CLT was introduced in Europe in the early mid 1990s. Right. And it proliferated from there to the point now where there are many, many producers in Europe making CLT panels. There's over 1 million cubic meters of CLT production capacity in Europe. It came to North America about 10 years ago. And Structurlam was one of the first producers in North America to make CLT. And we have enjoyed a run with CLT ever since. Right. But the key part of it is that we've combined it with our glulam capacity, which, if you want to think about it this way, Dave, the glulam makes the framework of the building, the columns, the beams and the purlins,
Yeah.
all your primary load carrying members, and the CLT panels create the vertical walls and the floor plates and the ceiling panels.
Got it. Love it. Listen,
Yeah,
everybody.
Sorry, Dave. Just to comment on one more thing there.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, we in North America here, we've really traded up on the European know-how, but we've adapted it to our North American building standards. So that is really one of the key things, and to have a product like this be codified so quickly.
Right.
Have the lumber wood basket that we have and the culture of building with wood that we have. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise that it's taking off.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not a surprise, you know, and where the other parts of offsite construction are struggling because there are not as many codes written for, you know, the other parts of the industry.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense as to why you're able to have some explosive growth and see these new manufacturing facilities and everything come up.
Yeah. Let me also say that it's not easy to be in this business. There's a lot of work required. It's just not a bunch of fancy pressing equipment and gluing equipment like you saw in the video. That sure helps, but you have to know how to bring this to market. And that's one of the real advantages that Structurlam has, is the ability to bring the concept to market and build buildings out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful buildings to boot. So
yeah. Thank you.
Listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So please hit that like and share button right now so we can keep growing the conversation around mass timber and offsite construction. If you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please do so. It helps us continue what we do, bringing experts like Hardy onto the show and continue the conversation so we can grow our industry that we love so much. So love it. All right. So Hardy, why don't we jump into the details of some of the bits and pieces here that we have pulled together. I'll pull up this presentation. It's going to take me just one quick second and we should have it here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, so why mass timber? Really, why is it taking off? Why is it being such a revolution in North America? And if you just click forward there, Dave, it's because the industry needs disruption. And if you look at the next slide, please, the construction industry has to change. You know, we're working here still back in the turn of the century kind of time frame when things were pretty primitive and very basic. And that's another reason why off-site prefabrication is really taking hold now, because we want to get to the right side of this continuum, which talks about the Internet of Things, 3D CAD modeling, delivering a kit of parts, design for manufacture and assembly. So all these things to, that allows for rapid growth. Now, here's some fact, Dave, if you go to the next slide, why we need to have this disruption. This graph here, and hopefully the audience can see it properly on your screen, but the red line at the bottom is how the construction industry has increased value since 1947. So post World War II, 1947, you can see that the line is actually going negative. And when you look at some of the other industrial spaces with the kind of rapid growth that they've seen, and that's because there's a lot more technology used and a lot more advancement in production equipment and doing things different and better in these other industries. So this graph is not from Structurlam. This is from The Economist. This was in an Economist magazine. And any offsite construction or prefab trade show that you will go to in today's environment, and I'll just give a little plug for the Forest Economic Advisors. They're doing a show in December, the IWBC show. You'll see this slide shown all over the place because it really tells the story that we must change. So if you just advance one more, Dave, please. Change must happen because to get that, we have to continually innovate and drive efficiency throughout the construction process. And that's really what mass timber is all about, right? Because we can build these kit of parts in our factory, everything CNC to millimeter tolerances. and delivers on a site, and it goes together as a kit of parts. If you go to the next slide, though, the problem is that in the construction industry, nobody wants to be one of these. Nobody wants to be the guinea pig and try to be that first timer, because, you know, if you're the you know, the first time user, you're also one of the technology enthusiasts, and sometimes you're at the bleeding edge of technology, not necessarily at the leading edge. But I can tell you, if you saw the several, you know, where the several hundred projects that Structurlam has done to date, where they're going across North America, not just Canada, but all up and down the West Coast, right, all out into the Eastern US, etc. There's many, many people adopting this technology. And so, you know, there's this whole crossing the chasm thing, Dave, that I mentioned earlier, right? You know, what is the, you know, are we going to cross that infamous chasm of death that any new product must go through? I think we're there for all the reasons I've mentioned already this morning.
Yeah, for sure. And when you go back and look at that graph, I mean, to see agriculture just took right off. I mean, it's like a rocket, you know, and to see construction going in a negative way, you know, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You're in the industry.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, here we go. So
one more slide maybe, and we'll look at the product life cycle and where I think we're at. Yeah, so here's the crossing the chasm. This is from a book written by Jeffrey Moore back in the 90s, mid-1990s. It's all about technology adoption life cycle. I mean, this is a product life cycle curve. You could put I-joists on this curve. You could put OSB, plywood, any building material that we know of. You know, we're seeing a lot in the panel industry, the OSB panel industry right now, Dave. We're seeing a lot of companies like Huber with their zip products, and other companies kind of creating a two-in-one panel where you've got your structural sheathing plus your building envelope wrap in one installation move. Big time savers on job sites. So you could apply anything to this this chart I'm showing here, and I think where we're at with mass timber in North America is you know, if I was Evel Knievel and I was riding my motorbike up that ramp right there, I'd probably just be looking down and going, yeah, I think I made it. Just got to make sure I put my back wheel down first, not the front wheel. Right? Because we are, I think, starting to move into this early adopter stage.
Sure. Let me ask you this: a big hot topic's been lumber costs. How has that affected? How has that affected you guys?
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. It certainly has. We've had to, and again, thanks to the company's nearly 60-year legacy, we've really had to use some, you know, time-proven techniques on how to navigate through these really volatile lumber markets. So what it does is it obviously lumber is a huge component to making glulam and to making cross-laminated timber. Right. It's you know, anywhere from 40 to 50% of the cost to make those products. So when they are spiked 3 times the level of where they were, you know, a short while ago, obviously it's an impact. That's the bad news. The good news is that we've got several processes in place to use futures, lumber futures, to hedge our pricing. We have some long-standing agreements with some proven lumber partners that we work very closely with to provide us with price protection, as long as we can have, you know, if we have a project that we have to secure a price and we can tie it into the futures market, which, you know, lumber futures are on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. If we can do that, we can hedge ourselves. But, you know, there's no silver bullet to it, right? You still have to take a risk. We just try to hedge as much of the risk as we possibly can.
Right, for sure.
And in fact, you know, fortunately in September, we're starting to see lumber prices retract now. Forest Economic Advisors, they're predicting that lumber prices should normalize through Q1 and Q2, albeit be a little bit higher than what we saw at the beginning of this year.
Right.
So we use a lot of pricing forecast tools and futures, as I said, to make sure that we don't get offside on those things.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody missed it, on Monday, we actually had Art Schmoen on our show from Forest Economic Advisors talking about this and what the state of the industry is doing. And also Art is running up the IWBC, the Industrialized Wood-Based Conference. I'm a big believer in that conference. It brings all different pieces of the industry together, which I think is great. And that's virtual now. They actually joined up with another big company. So it's going to be a great experience. So little plug for Art Schmoen and what they do, because they put a lot of effort into this stuff. So Hardy, why don't we just say hello to a few people real quick? I see the boxes lighting up over here on the right, and people just want to say hello. You have some fans out there. Hello from Log and Timber Connections. Looking forward to a good show. Love it. We have George Ryman. Good morning from Shorefoot Foundations in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, George. David Graham. Good morning from Phoenix. All right, Phoenix is in the house.
Yeah.
Hey, we got Jerry McCahey. Good morning, Harvey. You are the CLT guru. Best wishes for the future. Hope we can catch up soon, Jerry.
Yeah.
You know Jerry, I'm assuming?
Yes, I know Jerry. In fact, when I made my reference to the economist slide there with the graph, Jerry and I were both speaking at a conference a couple of years ago. He spoke before me. He had the exact same slide as I did, and I got up and had to kind of work in Jerry's vapor trail there to, pick up the pieces and try to move it forward. But yeah, Jerry's doing great things at Integra with offsite construction. So we're happy for him.
Yeah, I see some hybrid stuff between you and Jerry in the future. Maybe you can do some mass timber with his panel systems. It could be pretty cool.
Yeah. And on that note, maybe we should go to the Mass Timber Technical Guide and talk about some of those things, Dave.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some mass timber building systems.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody else in the comments, we are going to come back to you as well. So let's.
That's on page 25. It's in that other document. There you go. While you're getting there, Dave. Yeah, page 25, I think.
Yep, we're on page. This is CLT Florida Ledger Connection System.
Okay, yeah, that's not the one I want. I don't have the copy in front of me. Can you go to the table of contents maybe and just find that for us? Sorry, Dave.
That's okay.
Yeah, right there. It should be, if you just scroll down and pull that up.
Which we're looking for which one?
Mass Timber Building Systems.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. Next page over, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Blow it back up so everybody can see it. All right.
Yep, if you flip one. Yeah, so.
Which one you want? This one?
Yeah, there's a series of pages. So if you just reduce that a little bit. Yeah, so we've got a number of different building systems. So the post and panel system is what you see there. In the top right photo. Obviously, that's the infamous UBC Brock Commons tall wood house, which is an 18-story tall wood dormitory on the University of British Columbia. Wow. There you've got columns with steel connectors and CLT panels. Very, very fast way to build. If you are building a hotel, motel, dormitory style of building. This 18 stories was erected in 57 days, which is unheard of in concrete or steel construction. Super precise accuracy. If you just go to the next page, please. There's just a little bit more schematics of that building typology, post and panel. You can see it going up there in that bottom inset photo on the right. Next page, please, Dave.
Yeah, can I ask a question on this?
Sure.
You compare to concrete, quite often with the mass timber, being is is the weight loads similar to what it is in concrete, and that's why you can?
Great question. That's almost a softball, Dave. You shouldn't make it so easy, but yeah, the density of mass timber is 1/5 of concrete. So concrete density is about 150 pounds a cubic foot, and mass timber is between 35 and 40 pounds a cubic foot. So it's considerably lighter, which is also advantageous when you're in a geotechnical area where you've got bad soil conditions or high water table or anything goofy going on with the bearing capacity of the soil. So mass timber really lightens the load. Now you don't get the full benefit of the 1/5 of the density, because in many cases, like on that Brock Commons building, we the building designers actually had some concrete, 2 inches of concrete on top of the mass timber, just for sound deadening and fire separation. So in general terms, your dead load reduction on a building is about 50% off of what it would be in concrete. So instead of 120 pound per square foot dead load, you're looking at maybe a 60 pound per square foot dead load. And over 100,000 square feet of construction, you can do the math. 100,000 times a 60 pound per square foot savings. That's considerable reduction on your foundation, on your reinforcing steel, et cetera, et cetera. So there's lots of areas where you can pick up savings because of just the inherent lightweight nature and strong nature of the material.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Next slide, if you want. I want to show the shot there where Jerry's company, well, this is a post beam and platform system. The difference between the previous one is this has a beam in there, so you can open up the spacing of the column grid, which is also a very important requirement for space planning and in the architecture of the building. We can do anywhere from a 10 to 30 foot grid spacing, which is very suitable for a lot of campus construction, like you would see companies like Google or Microsoft or Walmart use in their building designs. Next one, please. Another post beam and panel. This is a building in Hillsboro, Oregon, the First Tech Credit Union. It's about 156,000 square foot campus building for a credit union head office. Fantastic experience here. The credit union owners actually went on record and said when they built this building, they built it about 5% cheaper than if they would have done it out of steel and concrete. So great success there. Maybe the next one. That's a significant savings. Yeah, it really is. And here's where this is what we call our hybrid light frame system. And there you can see we've got CLT floor plates, and stacked on top of the CLT floor plates are prefabricated light wood frame wall assemblies. And this would come from companies like Entekra. Now I know Jerry's also doing his floor systems prefabricated with wooden eye joists and subfloor panels. But here we've actually got the CLT floor plate. You can see it there, and then the wood frame walls beneath it. Also, we're seeing this actually really have a lot of uptake in the multifamily, 5-6 story multifamily, which is permissible by code to build with light wood frame. The new code changes up to the 18 stories that I mentioned before. That will have to be done in mass timber going forward. So it's 18 stories is the new building height in 2021, being adopted in the US, and in 2020, this year, Canada went up to a 12-story in mass timber code approval. And you can see there that the truck just in front of the building there in the bottom right corner, how the material shows up on site. So that truck load is loaded with the panels in order of sequence of installation on the job site. So when the crane is picking off that truck, it's going right on the site in the location that the installer wants to have it. Yeah, and how do you work through that? Is it like a number coded, color coded process? So every bundle, every piece is bundled. Every bundle has a tag. It's referenced back to a drawing, a framing plan, so the builder can orientate himself on the site on how to do this installation. It's a very similar practice as you would see with roof trusses, with wooden eye joists, and wall panelization industries as well.
Yep, got it. And with this hybrid approach, you know, I kind of stumbled on this conversation with you, with Jerry and the audience, but are you expecting to see a lot more hybrid approach as mass timber becomes more widely used and manufactured here in the United States?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a market segment of interest for us. I think what we've seen with our time, our 10 years in mass timber now, is that this usually happens once the product gets a little bit more mature in a given market space or a metro area. It's widely adopted now. Well, I shouldn't get too over my skis on that, but it's well known in Vancouver, British Columbia. We see some of this also down the I-5 corridor of the west coast of the U.S. But when we penetrate into new markets like we're doing in Texas and in the Intermountain region and other areas like that, is the first place we start to really get some traction is with the institutional buildings and office buildings. And we see a lot of that starting first. That kind of gets the product known in a given market. Okay. And then as people get to know it, then they start to experiment and do some of these other applications like we're seeing here.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, what else can I tell you, Dave?
I think we're going to jump into a lot here. I think let's get back to some of our comments. We got some people putting some things in. I want to say hello, bring the audience into this because I think there's going to be some good things happening. So let's keep going down the list. Joe Hutchins, hi from Revia. Hey, Joe. How are you, Joel? It's good to see you. Thanks for showing up. He said great video too, by the way. So
thank you.
Hey, we got the CEO of SIGA North America on today. What is happening, Etienne? He says, hi, Hardy. Thank you for sharing your experience. Good to see you. Any updated on the Structurlam plant in Arkansas? If not, when will it be online? Well, Etienne's funny you should ask. We're going to talk about that here shortly, and we'll get into that.
Yep.
He seems to be in the know, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's a good Etienne. Yeah, he's a real promoter of mass timber accessory products like building wraps and caulking products. So he's a good advocate for us.
Yeah, he actually made a comment here on that. It says when designing in 3D, does Structurlam use a software that outputs a direct bill of materials for manufacturing, including drawings and CNC programming? Do you do structural load calculations with this as well, or is this done manually? Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, well, you can tell he's an expert, right? Yeah, so Etienne, good question. We do use a
This was actually Scott B. It popped up before Etienne's.
Oh, okay, Scott. Good question, Scott. Yep. Yes, we do. We design, everything we do is in a 3D platform. We use a software product called CAD Work. It's a Swiss-based timber engineering software. Company has used it for, I think it's almost 15 years now. Prior to that, we were using other 3D software products, but CAD Work is really one that's very, very dialed in for the mass timber industry. Everything we do is in a 3D model. Quite often when we work on plans from the industry, I hate to say it, but a lot of times we're converting plans that come to us in a two-dimensional format, and we actually have to create them in 3D and then build our model out of that. And the reason why we have to do that is downstream from the fabrication design work that we do, we have CNC machines that process the raw billets, whether they're glulam or CLT, and they get processed so that we can add connectors or so that they fit on the job site like a kit of parts. And so the 3D model does a lot of that process for us. So it converts the design language of the software into a machine language that our CNC machines can actually read and understand and then process accordingly. The other thing that happens is this software tool also creates a complete bill of materials. Everything right down to the last screw, nut, washer, hanger, connector, plywood spline material, et cetera, et cetera. It also makes a loading diagram for us so that we can load that truck like I talked about previously. And as far as the load calculations, we take the load calculations from the engineer of record. So we don't try to be the project engineer. Okay. That's somebody else's job. We will interact very closely with the project engineer, engineer of record, the architect. Will interact. The best way for us to actually get involved is right at the start of a project, so we can design the building around our technology and our know-how. And a lot of that comes up in this DFMA, design for manufacture and assembly. So we'd like to get involved that way, but we leave the load calculations to the engineer of record. However, quite often when we see something that we think we can do a little bit better or more efficient running through the plant, or more efficient from an installation standpoint, we'll certainly step in and offer consultative services to help with that, figure those problems out.
Yeah, great question, Scott. Thank you for that. We're going to jump into this a little bit, in a few moments. When you talked about the 3D and having to get all of your, metal products that tie everything together, the precision that goes into a mass timber building. I mean, because I don't think people really understand how precise you're building this, right? I mean, it's, maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, probably one of the best stories I can tell on that one, Dave, is I went to the Brock Commons building in UBC, at UBC in Vancouver, British Columbia. It was kind of a post-mortem discussion, or an after-action review discussion. So we were there, of course. The builder was there. The installer was there. I mean, the builder was Urban One Builders in Vancouver. Seagate Construction was the installer. Russell Acton was the architect. And so on and so forth. Fast and Ep were the structural engineers. We all came and had an after-action review to talk about what worked well and what would we do different when we do the next building. And everyone was amazed at how precise the building was and how precise the corners were on the 18th floor. I'll never forget the moment the architect, Russell Acton, we went upstairs, took the elevator up, 18th floor, beautiful view looking out over English Bay in Vancouver. And Russell Acton gets down and he says, can you look at this? Do you believe this? I was standing over his shoulder and wondering what he was looking at. And he was just amazed at how precise the 90-degree corner was and how well the baseboards fit. And there were no gaps and nothing goofy going on. And we were on the top floor of this 18-story building. And the reason why that was is because of the millimeter tolerance that we can cut our products to or fabricate our products to, whether it's a glulam beam or a CLT plant panel. And you don't get that in other building materials. You just can't get there. And so that was a big revelation. So that would be my best story to tell you about precision.
Oh, it's definitely precise. And we're going to jump into some of that, like I said, in a moment, but we got it's lighting up over here. So let me get to Etienne's comment. Temporary waterproofing is often a challenge with mass timber. Who is responsible for it, in your opinion, and could this be effectively solved during the panel production?
Yeah, well, right now that is a secondary process that happens on site. So that is really the general contractor's responsibility. Now, we've had many discussions with general contractors as to how could we do this better. Right. For now, there's lots of water mitigation strategies that can be deployed on a job site. Kind of the default approach that we take is, look, mass timber can be erected faster than anything else. So turn it loose, get that building up, and get it, get get it protected from the weather as soon as you possibly can. There's been lots of moisture studies done on mass timber buildings that have been exposed to heavy water events. For example, the UBC Brock Commons building was a pilot project by the University of British Columbia. So that thing has been studied to death. And there's a lot of information that will tell you, even though it did go up in 57 days and they closed it almost as fast as they went up, that it did have some water events during that time, but there's been no harmful effect to the mass timber products. And as for those of you that don't know, but Vancouver's in the Pacific Northwest and it gets wet there. So now to Etienne's other question, is that something that we could look at doing in the panel production process, where it's one thing that we would really like to look at, and but that's another step that we would have to take on, and then there's just the cost benefit analysis of if that's smart for us to do or smart to be done somewhere else on the job.
Yeah. On site. Awesome. Hey, Etienne, great question. So we have Adam White joining us from the UK. Hey, Adam, thank you for joining us. Another intelligent membrane guy, right? Love it. All right, so here we go. You may know this person. Art Schmoen coming in from YouTube today. He's switching up on me. Hardy, what does pandemic demand look like for mass timber?
Yeah, post-pandemic demand. Right, Art, thank you for the question. I should have you just make a cameo appearance, Art, and you could come answer for me. But the space that we're in is the light commercial, tall wood, and what is in that category. So you have multifamily, you have office buildings. You have some doctor medical type buildings. And right now, given the current pandemic scenario with all the physical distancing that's required, and until we have a vaccine, I think the space is going to be challenged for the foreseeable future. In fact, I believe that FEA has told us that the space that mass timber is best suited for application is going to be seeing headwinds economically, probably for 2021 into 2022. I believe that. However, on the other side of that coin is the fact that mass timber is in a market share growth phase, and even though that the whole space will be impaired by the post-pandemic world that we're in, or current pandemic, and hopefully very soon a post-pandemic world, and let's all hope that we get those vaccines real soon. We are seeing more market share takeaway from concrete and steel, and with that also we will be able to, now that the new codes are going into effect, 2020 in Canada, 2021 in the US, and then different jurisdictions have to approve those codes. We should see more increased opportunity as well by being able to go beyond the 5 or 6 story cap that we currently have today.
Love it. Love it. All right, everybody, if you're just joining us, we have Hardy Wentzel on. So Hardy, we got a couple more questions. I know we haven't even gotten through half of our conversation yet. We haven't touched space on acoustics, fire performance, connectors, site handling. Well, a little bit of the site handling. So let's because this is an opportunity for people who normally wouldn't have a chance to talk to you, right? So let's keep working through some of these questions, then we'll try and jump through as much as we can here at the end, getting to even the Walmart investment. Sound good?
You bet. Let's go.
All right, perfect. All right, so here we go. Will Leverett, as the CLT industry grows, do you see any challenges with finding installers to keep up with the pace?
Good question. Will, I would say initially what we're seeing is when we go into a new market, that a lot of the large general contractors want Structurlam to either provide a supply and install package, and we are starting to do that, and we are working with certain key installer companies that have expertise on how to install mass timber products. But then what we're also finding is after the first one or first two projects is that a lot of general contractors will self-perform, because it's really not that difficult to work with the installation of these products. We've also seen on a large Microsoft campus project that we were involved in Silicon Valley, that the general contractor actually used the structural steel company to do the installation of the mass timber. And that was very, very straightforward. You know, they're used to working with the rigging techniques, handling techniques, flying in large members, whether they're steel or wood, it doesn't really matter. So I don't really see that as being an impediment, but where we do have challenges, we like to offer that supply and install, just so that we can get people going with the technology. And then usually we find they self-perform on the next project.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for that question. All right, Martin Stockhausen. Hello to all from Germany. Great. I love it. We always have a global audience here. Philip Saja, I think I said that right. If I didn't, don't light me up. Do you see a pathway towards leveraging mass timber for volumetric modular?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that we have seen in that space is that mass timber is the ideal chassis for that volumetric style of construction. And by chassis, I mean we can be the floor plate, or we can be the wall elements, and then everything else gets attached around that. So if you think of almost a shoebox kind of scenario, mass timber or CLT can be an ideal solution in that volumetric construction space.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks again for that question as well, Philip. All right, so we have a few minutes left here. Let's jump back into this. One of the things I think that's very interesting to talk about is kind of the connectors, right?
Yeah.
With your modeling and your 3D and the precision of this, do we want to take a look at that real quick?
Yeah, I think if we go to the guide, page 52, there, yeah, that's, sorry, Dave, I can't see the page number there. I don't think that.
Right. That's 42 right there.
Okay. Let's see. No, other way. Got to go the other way. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. By the way, this guide is keep going, Dave. Yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah, back one. Yeah, and just scroll up a little bit. So this guide, I'm just going to give a plug for our new mass timber technical guide. Go to structurlam.com, go to resources, and you can download a US version or a Canadian version. This is a 90-page document, 92-page document that has everything you need to know about building with mass timber in North America. Everything is per the North American building codes, North American manufacturing standards, and based on our years and years of experience supplying mass timber projects. And so here on this page, you can see a variety of connectors, Rycons and Megant connectors. These are European connectors that we find are just excellent solutions to, you know, light, medium, heavy load applications where you've got a glulam beam to a glulam column, or a glulam purlin to a glulam beam to a glulam column, and also how you would use those long screws to attach the CLT panels to the framework, to the glulam framework of the building. Dave, if you don't mind pulling up the other document, the presentation document for me, because there's I can do two birds in one stone there. Yeah, if you go to let's see, if you go to slide 21, somewhere in there for me, please. Yeah, so here's the applications for mass timber. You got floors, roofs, walls, cores, and shafts. So an elevator core, a stair shaft, etc. So if you know, those are all the applications. Everything needs a glulam framework. Sometimes people use a steel framework or a glulam steel combination hybrid with a CLT panel. But the next slide, please, Dave.
Yep.
Kit apart, rapid installation, better quality, lower cost. Next one, please. And we'll come back to this one. If you go to the next one, here's an example of how those connectors work. So on the right little sketch diagram, you see two connectors, two Ricon connectors. Each is rated for a certain amount of load. You can find that out if you download the tech guide from Structurlam. But you can see how that's being installed. Those metal connectors are screwed in with special screws. Every hole gets a screw. And you can see that little knob at the top there, and that intersects into a mating piece on the other side of the say on the column and on the beam. And you can see what's being dropped into place there. That beam, with a guy standing on that snorkel lift in that sling dropping in that beam, that could be like a 4,000-pound glulam beam, depending on how deep, wide, and long it is, intersecting into a 3,000-pound column 25 feet in the air. And you can just see how that just fits perfectly in there. So all the loads, all the hangers are pre-engineered connections. They're designed for fire with tight boundary conditions. So the steel is actually protected by the char rating that happens when the wood burns. It's very fast installation time. It's easy for us to shop install, so you're not doing this on the job site. So we do that in our factory, right, and it reduces the overall system cost. So now the fire topic, we'll just fast forward to, if you go back a slide, please. Yeah, right there. That's what happens when mass timber burns. It's like trying to light a campfire with a log. Very hard to do. It usually will char and smolder and smoke for a long time. It's not kindling. These are big, massive pieces. But you can see that char rate actually creates an insulative layer around the meat of the wood. And what that does is it keeps the strength properties of that wood intact, and it allows to support a certain amount of load while the building is being evacuated during a fire event. And when designed correctly, wood is a very suitable building material that performs very, very predictably. Again, all this information is in that technical guide that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll have the links up as well for people to find all this, but you can find all of this on your website. I mean, there's so much there.
Yep, you bet.
Now, what about the acoustics of the buildings?
Yeah, so acoustics is another, it's another engineering discipline, acoustic engineering. Again, if you go look in the guide, page 56, you'll learn all about acoustics. But there's been a lot of work done by academia, by colleges, universities, research bodies, all about the acoustics. And it basically takes the philosophy where you have to build up an acoustic system. So it's not just the panel. You have to use various different materials to get your IIC or STC sound ratings for whatever building you're trying to build. We in fact have one developer in the Vancouver market who has actually done all kinds of acoustic research. Right. And what he's actually branded his multifamily product as the quiet home, using mass timber, using CLT from Structurlam, and has developed a certain assembly to get these high performance acoustic ratings. Yeah, perfect. All right, so listen, we're down to the hour here, so why don't we wrap this up with Walmart invests in Structurlam. Can you give us the overview on that? And I have this teed up already here for you as well. You bet. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So it's all about Structurlam and Walmart, a made in Arkansas story. So Walmart was wanting to build a campus. It's 2.5 million square feet of office space. They're building it in their home city of Bentonville, Arkansas, up in northwest Arkansas. They are very, very sustainably minded. They have very strong corporate values around sustainability. And when they decided to build this new campus for the 15,000 Walmart associates that will come to work every day at this campus, they really wanted to make it a beautiful piece of architecture, biophilic design, sustainability, mass timber. They decided on mass timber very early, and they went ahead with that. And so Structurlam was involved in an RFP process. I was looking to expand the company into the US, and based on my prior life history, I knew that Arkansas was a fantastic place to do that. So if you just advance the slide real quick here, Dave, we'll go on to, well, there we are at our announcement day in December of last year. I've got the governor of Arkansas there, Walmart's Dan Bartlett, and myself making our pitch, our presentation to our announcement. And if you go on to the next one, please. And there's the overview of the campus. This is still a rendering, but it's a 350-acre site in the right near the center part of Bentonville. There will be 11 or 12 office buildings, parking, green spaces, etc. It's just going to be a fantastic site for people that come to do business with Walmart or people that work at Walmart. And then if you go to the next slide too, you can see what it's going to start to look like in the campus. And so this is still evolving and changing, but each one of those buildings that you see there, those are office buildings. They'll be anywhere 4 to 5 stories high, and they'll have a glulam mass timber grid with CLT panels, making just a gorgeous office building. And the next slide is another really good look at what they'll have there for greenway trails and bike and pedestrian paths. So they're really, we're just super excited to be working with Walmart on this. And, they were so enthusiastic about working with Structurlam that they also made an investment as a minor shareholder in the company, but really helping us get our foothold in Arkansas, which will also open up a whole new market for Structurlam as well, right there in central Arkansas. So the location where we're building our plant is in Conway, Arkansas, which is just outside of Little Rock.
Sure. All right. Love it. Love it. You have more slides on here, or is that good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think it's amazing that Walmart is in the building industry as an investment with you guys. We're seeing this across the board. Tech companies, Walmart is now investing in it. That's how important it is. And that's what people are starting to see, the future of what's happening. And I think, there's only one way we can go, and that's up. If you look at your graph, right, it was like this. At some point,
I agree.
You hit rock bottom. You got to go up.
Yeah, you got to get better, right? And the other thing I'll say is companies like Walmart, companies like Google, Microsoft, they've all have very ambitious sustainability values. They just want to take climate change very seriously. They think they can move the needle, and they can. They're very large companies, and some of them even want to be carbon negative going forward. So they're very, very ambitious, and they know that our built environment is the largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
What it takes to build a building, the building materials, and then what it takes to operate a building. That's the biggest contributor to what we're facing today is one of the biggest challenges across the globe.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. And it's wonderful to hear, how much respect you have. We talked offline even about it for Walmart and their sustainability programs and really trying to look at, doing things better. So heck, I'll be sleeping in Walmart parking lots coming to you soon from our RV as we take our tour across the country. So now I have something more to talk about, right? There's a reason to stop at Walmart and thank them all the time. Yeah,
there you go. Yep. And if you do make it over the line, come up and visit us, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to come to Canada. We just got to play with the COVID rules here. But, there's an announcement, everybody. If you are listening, we are doing a road trip, Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, and Canada. If we can get up to Canada, to bring all of this innovation. And, man, it'd be awesome to stream, live on location in Arkansas and show everybody what you're doing one of these days with this whole Walmart setup.
Well, if your road trip is still on June 1st, 2021, the plant will be running. So, and everything on that whole, expansion plan is still going on schedule.
Well, maybe we'll plan on being in your neck of the woods on those dates. So, hey, listen, Hardy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. This has been awesome. And I know we could go for another hour. So I think I'm already going to put it out there. We're going to have you back and really dive into this a lot deeper. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great. Be happy to do it.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit that like and share button, and please follow us. Like I said, we had Art Schmone on Monday. You can find that on our YouTube channel. So go there and check it out if you want to see some of the past presentations. We work really hard to bring great speakers and CEOs like Hardy on this show so we can educate everybody about what we're doing. So Hardy, thank you so much. And again, thank you to our sponsors for everything that they're doing for us. We really do appreciate Joe Butler and Ben Hershey for all that they do at Forward Solutions Group. So thank you so much for everything. And thank you for being a sponsor. With that, we will see you tomorrow on